realize in all the years I've known you, we've never had breakfast at a table, or made love in a bed.
Or made love on a table and had breakfast in bed.
Sissy Spacek and Kevin Kline rekindle an old love affair after he's gotten married in Violet or Blue, one of 4 new movies we'll be reviewing on At the Movies, the movie review program. I'm Gene Siskel, film critic of the Chicago Tribune.
And I'm Roger Ebert, film critic of the Chicago Sun-Times. In addition to Violet or Blue, this week we'll also be reviewing Critters, which is sort of a cross between Gremlins and the Terminator, and we'll also review Police Academy 3, which is sort of a cross between Police Academy 1 and Police Academy 2. First, Gene starts with a documentary called Stripper.
Very good. Stripper is an entertaining fraud of sorts, and let me explain what I mean by that backhanded compliment. According to a Chicago newspaper reporter who covered the striptease contest in this film, the contest was originally conceived as a film project, and therefore, what we don't have here is a true documentary in the sense that someone stumbled upon this event and did some investigative reporting independently of the whole goings-on with a camera crew. There is an air of self-promotion throughout this whole film. It seems scripted, as in its opening scene of the contest to find the best stripper in North America.
Showtime! The eliminations for the Golden G-String Awards are about to begin.
Stand by, playback.
I'm not a physical body. I'm not a conditioned mind.
We have 100 contestants from all over the world, but only 5 will be chosen to perform in the finals tomorrow evening for a grand prize of $25,000.
Catch the phoniest? He was just making that announcement for us in the audience. Aside from some of the stripping, the best parts of the film are the women themselves talking about their jobs.
Slide. Okay, absolutely humanly impossible. Come on, one more, you can do it. You can also do one more. Yes, you can, come on. All right, ease it back, ease it back. One more. Right, come on, another second. Think of all those ladies you're going to be competing against. They're all younger than you are, right? One more. Come on, one more.
Oh, God, what happened to the old days when you just took off your clothes?
That's kind of a cute line. The most appealing stripper in the film is named Danielle. She's terrific, but I found her act in bad taste.
My act is going to be a bondage orientated with leather and whips and chains, and at the end I want to like dip my whip into body paint, red body paint, and whip myself so it's like ripping my skin open, and trickles of blood will be coming out of my skin. Wild. I've only been dancing for a short while.
From Vancouver, British Columbia, Danielle.
Her act gets a lot more unsavory with whips and chains and fake blood. Now, I'm no prude because I've already said I enjoyed some of the other dancing in the film, and her dancing as well. So my advice to Danielle, whose real name is Kimberly Holcomb, is to go straight. I think she could become a legitimate actress or Broadway dancer. When she looks into the camera, talks, and tells her story, her life story, I don't know whether it's true or not, but she's very convincing and very appealing, and I think there's a real potential for an actress there. So I'm giving a thumbs up to Stripper, concocted as it may be, phony as it may be, because I can't deny it held my interest.
I don't know, Gene. I think stripping is stripping. Every girl has to have a gimmick, and I didn't think that the fake blood was any more offensive than the snakes or the woman from outer space.
I didn't like the snakes. I didn't like the snakes. I didn't like the fake woman from outer space, and I didn't like the blood.
You basically just like the new bodies,
the
right?
new bodies. Okay. You got.
Well, now we've got you figured out.
How about you? Same way.
I'll tell you what I didn't like about the film.
Go ahead.
This movie was directed by the same man who was involved in Pumping Iron Part 1, and it's the same formula, and they used it also in Pumping Iron Part 2. You cast the movie, you get interesting people in it, you set up a phony contest, you set up fake competition between them, you set up the drama, and then you have the conclusion.
Right.
It's like a fictional film.
Right.
And I think it would have been a lot more interesting if they'd gone right ahead and made a documentary of one of these characters. Now, I'll tell you the one I would have chosen, the woman there who was pumping iron, the one who was working out, the older woman who's a dancer in Vegas who's trying to raise a child by herself. She seemed fascinating. I would have liked a real documentary about her real life instead of this formula, which is getting kind of old.
Well, actually, I think a film about a whole bunch of old strippers going back into, history and some of the ones that are working even today, that might have been interesting. Just that one, not enough for me. Next at the movies, an attack by some critters from outer space.
Go! Just go! These things, these critters! Come on, go! Dad's all torn up and Mom's got like a harpoon thing in her neck and they're getting bigger.
I'm just a cheater. I'm just a cool dude in a loose mood. Until I see those Cheetos. Then my cool turns to drool. My style and ease surrender to my urge for the cheese. Let's go. It's not easy being cheesy.
Cheetos, Brian, cheese-flavored snacks. It's cheese that goes crunch.
Our next movie is named Critters, and there are whole sections of this movie that look strangely familiar, especially if you've seen Gremlins or The Terminator. This movie seems to be inspired in about equal parts by those two other films, but that doesn't make it a bad movie. In fact, I sort of like Critters. The movie tells the story of some small-town folks who get invaded by nasty little beasties from outer space that seem to be made up mostly out of rows of very sharp teeth. And in this scene, a farmer goes down into the basement to see what the noise is and becomes one of the first human victims of the critters. Meanwhile, two bounty hunters from outer space are after the critters, and they walk into the local bowling alley like Terminator clones.
What does he mean we won't live long?
What can I get for you fellas? Reverend, what are you doing here? That's some outfit you got on.
We want the Kreitz.
Oh, really? Who are they, some new team?
Hey, second, please. Hey, Marty.
The Kreitz. Look, mister, I don't know what you're talking about. I think you all better be leaving, or somebody gets hurt. Don't have a serious attitude problem. Keep your shirt on.
Now, they have the ability to look at somebody else and turn into them so that nobody in town can figure out later on in the movie why the minister seems to be blowing everybody away. It's just the minister clone. Those two enforcers there may seem sort of dumb, but that's one of the charms of this movie. They come from outer space to find the cripes or the critters, and they wind up blowing up TV sets. This movie is not about some horrible, terrible menace that's going to destroy the earth. It's more like the attack of the flying squirrels, and the bounty hunters are like a couple of good old boys who want to chase them and blow them up real good. There are some good performances in the movie, especially by M. Emmett Walsh as the local sheriff and Scott Grimes as the little kid who tries to protect his family from the critters. The movie has a couple of big laughs and a few scary moments, and although it's not a great film, I liked it enough to say thumbs up.
I like Critters too, except I had one objection to the film. I didn't like the bondage act that one of the critters did in the strip scene in the film. Yes, that's right. That's a joke from the first segment. Okay, thank you. You know, I like the film for the same reasons you did. Normally what we get are these creatures from outer space coming in, tearing up the people in planet Earth, and then fighting and see who wins. This film says, forget the people pretty much on planet Earth. let the aliens fight it out themselves. They got these little bowling balls with teeth going, and these monsters going after them, the bounty hunters, you call them. Mm-hmm. And that, for me, was kind of fun. We're sort of innocent bystanders to this whole action, which, if I were a teenager, I just ate up, and I enjoyed it as a double teenager.
I like the way the movie was able to go back and forth between what is obviously supposed to be a science fiction thriller and the other part, which is kind of a down-home comedy. And there are some lines in the movie that, because they're unexpected, you know what I'm thinking of, are really funny.
Also, the violence is handled off camera, which is nice for a change. Why do we have so much blood and guts? This film is smart enough to have a little off camera. I like that, too.
It was also smart enough to have a little on camera, too. Coming up next, what happens when Sissy Spacek bumps into her old boyfriend and finds out he's married.
Sometimes I think about what it would be like to live in a house with you. Have coffee with you in the morning. Supper with you at night.
Called Violets Are Blue, and it stars two of our most likable stars, Sissy Spacek and Kevin Kline. Now, thankfully, Sissy Spacek has gotten away from playing those roles where she's always the heroine fighting the corrupt world in films like The River and Marie. Here, at long last, she plays a professional photographer who covers the war-torn world, sometimes for Time magazine, having left behind at home 15 years ago the man she loved. When she returns home, she finds out he's married, but still, it's love again at second sight for both of them. And he invites her home to meet his wife and son. After dinner, the two of them argue.
Why did you do that to me?
Do what?
Invite me there. You see, you have a perfect life.
What are you talking about?
Why didn't you just leave it alone?
I wanted to see you again.
Well, you've seen me.
Let me explain.
You explained a long time ago.
I tried. I asked you to come back when my father...
I was gonna come back.
Were you?
Well, we'll never know, will we?
Do you think I would have gotten married if I thought you were coming back? Ruth got pregnant.
By ourselves?
They eventually kiss, but before the relationship progresses too far, Sissy Spacek warns Kevin Kline they had better consider their actions seriously.
I came running back thinking I was coming home. It's not home to me anymore. I forgot about all the time I lived here. I was just trying to think of ways to get out. It's weird. I look at Sally and she looks so happy. She's married.
My favorite performance in the film belongs to Bonnie Bedelia as Kevin Kline's wife. She's on to him right away, and she doesn't let him get away with a lie.
I can't compete with her. You were meant for bigger things than I was, Henry. We've always known that. If it hadn't been for your father dying and me getting pregnant, you wouldn't be stuck here in the little town. And I don't want to be the one to keep you here. And I sure as hell won't apologize for liking it here. So if it's too small for you, get the hell out. But for God's sake, be a man. Tell the truth.
It's only April. I hope that Academy voters will remember a year from now Bonnie Bedelia's performance in this film, because it's certainly worth an Oscar nomination. They somehow seem to forget films early in the year. She's that good. It's good dialogue, of course, but that look on her face, that's just a good piece of acting. Now, you know, I must confess I enjoyed watching this film, even though as I sat through it, I swear I called out every single major plot development towards the end of the film right on the money, every single one. Now, normally that ruins a movie for me, but what saves Violets Are Blue for me is I think the honesty of the performances and some of the script. Some of the dialogue is terrific. Emotions are dealt here realistically. People do get hurt here realistically. Ecstasy is held to a minimum. We do reflect on the institution of marriage, and I have to admit that this very obvious film works emotionally and intellectually. What do you do in a situation like this, in this film? We think about that during the movie and when we walk out of the theater.
Well, you know, I liked it just as much as you did, but I didn't think it was quite as predictable as you did, and I can't really say why, because I don't want to give away the ending, but I'll say, in a way,
knew it. Okay.
It's like the Janet Leigh thing in Psycho. You have a big star on screen, and so you think that the big star is going to behave in a certain way because she is the star, Sissy Spacek, and then it turns out that she behaves in a way that's contrary to that, and that kind of surprises you. The ending did surprise me, but I liked the whole movie, including the ending, because it was about adults making hard choices. This is a grown-up movie, a double feature with Twice in a Lifetime.
Or living with the choices. That's what
right.
I think is better than that. Just instead of making the choices, these people have already made some choices. They do make some, but they are held accountable. One of the things that people have complained about the movies, you know, in violence is that you see violence, but you don't see the results of violence.
Yeah.
Here's internal violence between people, decisions, and we didn't get together. Now look what happened. I got married. Now look what happened. Here, they are held accountable. Somebody has thought through on this script.
And you were right about Bonnie Bedelia. She is terrific in this movie, and she is the one that holds them accountable.
You better.
Because you think, oh, it's going to be Sissy Spacek and Kevin Kline floating off into the sunset, but Bonnie Bedelia says, wait a minute now. Listen to what I have to say. It's a great speech and a great performance. Next at the movies, they've done it again, and we'll review it. Police Academy 3.
We have tradition to uphold, a reputation to defend, and defend it we will.
This movie is named Police Academy 3, and like the Friday the 13th movies and the Rocky movies, the Police Academy movies are brand names by now. You've seen one, you've seen them all. But on the other hand, in my opinion, if you've seen them all and they're Police Academy movies, you still haven't added up the one good movie. The first two films are pretty awful, but number 3 is the most lame-brained of the lot, a dim-witted series of dumb sight gags that make the Bowery Boys look brilliant.
Just say it again.
Dumb. Makes Huntsville look like Mel Brooks. Here's Bubba Smith. Big scene.
Very often in the field, the dog can be your best friend, your most faithful partner.
Oh, I love dogs, and they love me. Hi, boy. Hi.
First, out.
Thanks.
It is important to develop the master-dog relationship. If you show any fear, the dog will not respect you. Sweet Chuck?
Me?
Order the dogs to sit.
They won't listen to me.
They will.
Come on, Chuck. Go on, have a seat.
You've got to show them who's boss. Sit!
The formula is the same all through this movie. No story, no characters, just one would-be gag after another.
Backward! You're up.
Yay! Now! Kirkland! Word. Kill.
Hear it again.
Kill.
Now go for it.
The little guy with the glasses there is Tim Kazurinsky, and I've seen him on Saturday Night Live and on stage in Second City, and I don't know who some of the other people in this movie are, but he's an example, I think, of the waste of talent that Police Academy 3 represents, because I know that he's a funny actor, and if he can't make me laugh in this movie, then there's something wrong with the whole premise. I suppose that the Police Academy movies are trying to do something sort of innocent and harmless in their own way, at a time when so many movies are filled with high-tech violence and soul-searching despair and the sex lives of obnoxious adolescents. Here's a movie that only wants to be good, dumb fun. It comes out of the tradition of Abbott and Costello and the Three Stooges. The trouble is, those old comedies had a certain crazy energy level, a certain method to their madness, and they had characters who got developed to the point where you could care what happened to them. Police Academy 3, like parts 1 and 2, never cranks up the energy to make it funny enough.
Cranks up the energy is precisely the point. This thing is directed as if it were asleep. I mean, it is very slow, methodical. You saw the speed there. This movie, if it's going to work, the jokes have to follow one on top of another so that you're laughing, and then the next one comes and you're laughing on top, and this audience is exploding with laughter. That's the way Mel Brooks works with gags. That's the way Laurel and Hardy work. This thing is just done in slow motion, and the gags aren't funny.
I think what they're trying to do here, because the first two had more of a story than this one is only episodic gags, is they're trying to make a movie like Airplane or like Top Secret, and the problem is You put your finger right on it by so fast that you feel like you're missing stuff.
Right.
The moment you have the chance to stop and think in a movie like this, it's all over.
I had plenty of chances to stop and think, to look around at the room, to see people who were sitting next to me, to talk to friends, go back to visit the projectionist, go to the bathroom, anything but look at that screen. That's it for this week. Now let's recap our reactions to the movies on this show. Roger and I differed slightly on Stripper. I enjoyed parts of the show. Roger would have preferred a more honest documentary. But 2 thumbs up for Critters, a surprisingly funny science fiction horror film that is a combination, I think, of Starman and Gremlins. It's a whole lot of silly fun without being too violent. And we both like Violets Are Blue with Sissy Spacek, Kevin Kline, and don't forget her, Oscar voters, Bonnie Bedelia. And what's this? 2 thumbs down for Police Academy 3. What a stunning surprise, which is more than you can say for any of the dumb jokes in this movie.
So Violets Are Blue and Critters, 2 very different movies, but both of them good choices.
And I like parts of Stripper.
And you like parts of Stripper. I want to ask you what parts.
Clean parts.
The clean parts. That's it for this week. Next week we'll be back with reviews of 4 new movies, including Legend, a sword and sorcery epic starring Tom Cruise, and Wise Guys, a story about 2 low-grade working-class gangsters starring Danny DeVito and Joe Piscopo. And until then, we'll see you at the movies.